Oh, what did he sing? A child growing up, questioning parents, is tapping the oral tradition, those stories the parents tell about when he or she was growing up. All of these things that the child says, tell me that story again about when you did this or that, or when this or that happened. That is the oral tradition.
Though Ashley's puppets and stained glass may be seen by only a few neighbors, his stories reach children around the world. He writes in a style intended to be read aloud, and before performing in public, Ashley will rehearse for hours at home.
Poetry, like song, is meant to be heard. So I use the devices of poetry in my storytelling. I'll use the rhyme, the alliteration, the rhythms, the syncopation. All of these things will come into my story. And I will do this because I want to slow the reader down. I want them to listen. And ox, lion, and fox, the large and the small, he made them all. The large and the small, he made them all. Gather out of stardust, earth dust, cloud dust, storm dust, and splinters of hail, one handful of dream dust, not for sale.
At schools across the country, like this one in Atlanta, Ashley performs not only traditional African folk tales, but also the work of Black American poets.
The Black American artists are so much a part of American culture and traditions. The poets, the writers are doing what the other writers are doing as well. They're drawing upon their people, upon their resources, upon their experiences, and they are offering this into American life. My work in opening up aspects of this work is to see that it becomes a part of the work done in schools and in other programs. I was a slave a few short days ago. The powers of kings and princes now I know. I would not be again in bondage, save I had your smile, the liberty I crave.
Ashley hopes not only to introduce children to the work of Black writers, but also to awaken in them a sense of their own potential.
I think the important thing is they go on and be people, humans, sensitive to the contributions of others, contributing whatever they can, stretching themselves to the limit. Whatever that might be, that will be in their hands. And I feel that if they sense that feeling that they have something to offer, they will be contributors. Beautiful!
The night is beautiful.
So the faces of my people.
So the faces of my people.
The stars are beautiful.
The stars are beautiful.
So the eyes of my people.
So the eyes of my people.
Beautiful also is the sun.
Beautiful also is the sun.
Beautiful also are the souls of my people.
Beautiful also the soul of my people.
Very good. That's it. Thank you all very much. That poem, My People, by Langston Hughes, it really states the essence of what we're all about. That is the love of who we are, and from that love, opening ourselves out to everything that's offered in this world. But if we're rooted in who we are, then all of that can add to the way we flourish.
Next, how can life exist where the sun never shines? Enter the mysterious world of deep-sea vents when Explorer continues in a moment.
Explorer is being brought to you by Honda, who invites you to experience the all-new CRX SI at your local Honda dealer. And the Discover card. It pays to discover, the card that pays you back.
Honda Accord Coupe. It could get by on looks alone.
It is no big deal.
It's a hassle.
Oh, it's called Mastercare Car Service. Brakes, tune-ups.
Alignments?
No big deal. The mechanics are great. All their equipment, you'd swear they were technicians. And they stand behind their work 6 months or 6,000 miles.
Mastercare.
You're covered from Maine to Missoula. These guys are so good. Fixing your car is no big deal.
Finally, taking care of your car is no big deal. Mastercare Car Service by Firestone.
But I thought they just sold tires.
If I'm going to be Mr. Congeniality during the day, I got to start off with a good breakfast in the morning. That's one of the reasons I like Ramada. You really get treated like somebody special. Great service, great food. I don't mean just coffee and donuts either.
Ramada Room Service, may I help you? There you are.
Hey, this is going to be a congenial day. Real congenial.
You're somebody special at Ramada.
Hello?
Hi. You want to tell me about it?
Annie, do I ever.
A close friend is never out of reach on AT&T.
Reach out and touch someone. My husband, Ted, used to be the world's worst barbecuer until we got this charbroil gas grill. Now, he's a regular barbecue genius. You see, a charbroil has this flare fighter system that helps him control his habit of burning expensive meat. But the real secret is these charcoal briquettes. Only charbroil gas grills have them. They give everything Ted cooks a real charcoal taste. Yep, real charcoal taste. And 3 nights a week out of the kitchen, he's not the only genius in this family.
And now back to National Geographic Explorer and Tom Chapin.
You might not think there'd be many life forms left to discover, but in the Pacific Ocean, scientists have come up with a whole new group of organisms. The unusual animals cluster around hydrothermal vents, underwater geysers of warm water. Entire communities exist without benefit of sunlight, kept alive by energy from the very core of the Earth. Most of these oases of life are fleeting, disappearing when the vents give out. But while they exist, they are filled with alien and primitive creatures.
Deep in the Pacific Ocean, molten lava churns forward, then cools and cracks. This is the genesis of another world, a secret oasis at the bottom of the sea. About 300 miles west of Acapulco, 2 French divers and a photographer are about to descend nearly 2 miles into the ocean. Their goal, to capture samples of living organisms for a French research effort. It takes more than an hour for the lightweight submersible named Cyana to touch bottom. Water temperature, 34 degrees Fahrenheit. Pressure, 3,550 pounds per square inch. And yet the crew seems excited, expectant. What life could exist in such blackness and cold? As volcanic reactions subside along the ocean floor, water seeps around the lava flows and heats up, forming hydrothermal vents full of life-giving chemicals and bacteria. Here, animals can thrive without a ray of sunlight. Around these warm water geysers, whole communities live in a delicate but teeming balance. Each one forms a food chain, an oasis in an otherwise desolate world. The vents are overgrown with clusters of red tube worms. They have thousands of tiny tentacles for absorbing chemicals, which they convert to food. Galatheid crabs scavenge for small organisms and perhaps for particles of food that drift down from higher waters. Less common is this cyanogria crab, which feeds on worms it finds around the fossil vents. Life in these depths forms an intimate cluster, defying our conventional belief that sunlight is essential to all living things. If the sun were to disappear tomorrow, this world would probably survive. These communities can occur only a few hundred yards apart, but the darkness separates them so completely that it takes the crew hours to go from one to the next. Still, they push on, hoping that behind the next lava ridge, something really extraordinary awaits them. Only here in the farthest depths of the ocean can the researchers observe a creature so rare as the large-finned cirrate octopod, a species that may be 100 million years old. These haunting worlds are fleeting. None is known to last for more than 60 years. And with the plates of the ocean floor pulling apart as much as 8 inches a year, thermal vents can die as quickly as they emerge, leaving behind an eerie fossil ghost land. This expedition is one of many explorations of thermal vents in the East Pacific. For researchers, samples taken from these waters serve as a key to the evolution of the Earth's outer shell and point to the origins of life on our planet. But for scientists, the vents will always be most fascinating for the timeless creatures that roam their waters far below the light of the sun.
Coming up, before the victory, there were years of hard work. Follow American heroes Gina Yeager and Dick Rutan on the triumphant flight of the Voyager. An explorer returns after this.
The following Geographic moment is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately?
A few words on the performing arts. The new Ford Probe, a performance you won't forget.
Leave it to the good hands, people.
Compassion. You can't teach it or place too great a value on it. But you could measure it down this very road on the morning of June 23rd. In the actions of Allstate Claims Adjuster Don Mulder, who at 5 a.m. drove 60 miles to a fire site, all just to shorten the distance between a man's loss and a man's recovery. People like Don Mulder, another reason.
You're in good hands with Allstate.